Oh, it is hard. Anyway, this is Alicia, and she is a brilliant copywriter who I recently photographed for her rebrand, which we're going to be talking about today. And just to give you a bit of an intro on Alicia, this is straight from her new, beautiful, stunning website. My mission is to make your brand more recognizable, more memorable, and utterly irresistible, like an iced bobo on a plate of boring Scotch fingers. I do this by writing colorful words that cut through the marketing clutter. I capture big ideas that give your brand meaning. I'm talking catchy concepts, clever themes, and stories stickier than a cinnamon bun. And I do all this while infusing your copy with tasty SEO goodness. I love that. I love it.
Oh, and, thank you. It sounds so weird hearing somebody else read it out.
I bet it does. But it's so good. And it's I mean, obviously you're a brilliant copywriter, but it's the kind of writing that makes you, piques your interest and goes, I want to know more about this lady and what she does. And obviously that intro really links to your message and your brand, which we're going to talk about today. So rather than me telling everyone more about you, I'd love you to quickly just give us a little bit of a spiel about where you've come from, how you became a copywriter, and how you got to where you are today.
Sure. Okay, so yes, I've been copywriting as a freelancer for around 3 years. I started my business in 2016. My business is Tea and Copy, but previously it was Type A copywriting before my rebrand. So prior to that, my background's always been in sort of copywriting, communications. I studied media and communications at uni, and then that was a really long time ago, FYI.
Am I right in thinking you were, you worked for quite a lot of in-house for a lot of big brands and organisations before going freelance, yeah? So you got quite a history.
Yeah, exactly, yep. So I spent about 15 years in corporate before going freelance. So I worked as a communications manager, obviously as a copywriter, marketing manager, PR manager. So yeah, it's always been around words and communications. But yeah, in 2016, I just thought it's time to spread my wings and fly and have a bit more freedom and flexibility. And yeah, I just really wanted to focus on purely writing rather than all the other stuff that goes around corporate life.
Yeah. And were they for specific brands that you worked for that led you into a certain type of client, I suppose, in your own copywriting, or was just different things?
Yeah, when I started copywriting, I started as a generalist. So I was writing lots about everything, and I drew from my previous experience in corporate. So I spent a few years working in the property sector, also in sport and fitness. So I kind of attracted quite a few of those clients. But really at the start, for the first few years, I was writing about anything and everything. Yeah. And I guess, that's part of where the rebrand came in, that I really wanted to narrow it down a little bit and focus on writing the stuff that I'm really passionate about and I really love, rather than absolutely everything in the world.
Yeah. And we're going to get into rebrand in a second, but I just wanted to say copywriting is, I admire copywriters like you have no idea, because I feel like being able to write for anyone's brand is it's like, people grow up and they go, I want to be able to sing like a rock star, but we just know that's not attainable. I feel like copywriting is such an amazing skill, and for someone who can't write, it's just like it's like you guys have a magic wand, the way you can put your words together and pick up someone's tone of voice and their brand and their message. So I'm really excited to talk to you today and get into the mind of a copywriter and how that works.
It's a crazy place. Look out.
It is.
Inside the mind of a copywriter.
It's an exceptional skill, and particularly in business. I always look at people that are brilliant writers, and I think it's if you're a good writer and a communicator, obviously that's a lot about what you do with branding and in any business. So it is a great skill to have, and everyone needs an amazing copywriter. Absolutely.
I agree.
I thought you might. So let's talk about your rebrand. Like, as you said, and that's really what I wanted to chat to you about today. I think, a lot of people go through rebrands, but you did a beautiful write-up of yours following completion of your rebrand and launching online, which was a real, I think, eye-opener to people that are thinking about it, because they may not realise the work that's involved. So you were Type A copywriting, and as you said, you're Tea and Copy, which is a great name. First, would love to know what you hinted at it, but what made you rebrand and what made you know it was the right time to do it?
Yeah, so I started thinking about it probably 12 months ago. And I really wanted to do it. I found that I was attracting a lot of clients in the corporate space. So as I said, I was getting like lots of property clients, tax agents, accountants, really sort of corporate, like people that weren't really willing to take a risk or really infuse their copy with a whole lot of personality. They kind of wanted to play it safe, and which I understand in some of those industries. And while it was really cool to write for those clients, I knew that I wanted to focus more on lifestyle brands, coaches, creatives, and write about some different topics. So health and wellness, beauty, fashion, all those fun kind of topics that I love, rather than more of the dry corporate stuff.
Yes.
So yeah, I found the brand was attracting the wrong type of clients, first of all. So that's when I knew it was time. And also I just felt I'd really outgrown my brand. So when I started, and I think this is the same for a lot of freelancers or people who start their own business, you learn so much about your business as you go along.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I started, I just wanted to write and I just wanted to get into it. So everything I did was DIY. I did my own website. I had a friend take my photos, which were pretty average at best. And I had like a cheap logo made. I didn't put a huge amount of thought into it. I just wanted to get going.
Yeah.
And then as I went along the journey, I realised that I needed to change some things to attract my ideal clients, and I wasn't going to do that with a brand that I wasn't 100% aligned with.
Yeah.
Because, it is expensive and time-consuming to rebrand, so you want to make sure that you're doing it for a brand that really feels right for you, that you really love.
Yes, and I love what you're saying about, you recognised you weren't attracting the type of client you wanted to work with, because obviously as a branding photographer, that's what we talk about a lot with the images I create for people. It's, well, who do you want to attract? And everything you put out, whether it's your copy or your visuals or your colours, it's going to attract a certain type of person, isn't it? And if you don't show people who you are and who you want to work with, then they're not going to be attracted towards you. So yeah, someone who wants to be creative and fun in their copy, if you were just showing that type A copywriting style of client, they weren't going to be thinking that you were relatable to them, or that you resonated. So it's so important. And also business is always an evolution, we have to remember, don't we? So often when you start out in business, I think particularly for, maybe coaches or in any industry, let's say, the first few years are about just getting your feet on the ground, getting the clients, getting the cash, and doing the work that you love. And then it's great, isn't it, a couple of years down the track to finally go, hey, I'm here. Now I can really start finessing my brand and who I want to work with. It must be a really nice place to get to.
Yeah, exactly. The way I described it to my designer is, when I first started, I sort of presented myself as who I thought I should be as a freelance copywriter. And then a few years in, you kind of realise I'm just going to be who I am and who I want to be. And it's just, it's a really good feeling to feel so aligned with your business in that way.
Yeah. I just want to ask one question around that rebrand. So I feel like, and myself as a creative, I feel like it's very easy to get bored with your brand. Like, oh my God, I need to change up my website. You're never happy with it, or my logo needs to be updated, or I should just change my colors because maybe, a certain color palette is popular at the moment and you think that's what everyone's using. But I think it's quite easy to get bored with your brand. So what's your take on recognizing when it's just boredom versus you actually need a rebrand? Because I think you waste a lot of money spending time and energy on those things when really you may not need a rebrand.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it comes back to that thing of, I was just looking at the type of clients I was attracting. And when I actually looked at my brand and I sat back and sort of looked at it from a customer's perspective, I could see 100% why I was attracting a different type of client and how the brand was perceived. I guess the other thing is, we always have great ideas. And I'm one of those people that has like a harebrained scheme in the middle of the night, and I'm like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then you wake up and you're like, that was the worst idea ever. So I think, like, if you have an idea, maybe just sit on it for a little bit, and don't sort of launch full on into something until you're 100% sure, because like you said, it is costly. It does take a lot of effort and energy. So you really want to spend time making sure that it is the direction you want to go in. It is the look and feel that you want. And like you said, not just a flash in the pan thing, because
I did read a great, I can't remember where, I never remember where I read things or hear things, but I did hear a great quote the other week, which was, you should only update your logo or your brand if your accountant tells you to, which basically the crux was, you know, is if you're doing fine in business, etc., you know, probably don't need to change too much. But obviously as well, there is that ideal client message that you want to get right. So that's definitely a good reason to also make sure you rejuvenate yourself. So let's get a little bit more into the rebrand process. What I think reading through your blog post, what stood out to me was that it was a lot more than probably people realise, and cost as well, which you can run over. So what were all the different elements you had to pull in to make the rebrand work?
Yep. So after I sort of decided on the name, I spent quite a bit of time just fleshing out the look and feel and how the brand would sound. And so that involved sort of creating customer avatars, you know, thinking about who I'd be talking to, what their needs were, what their pain points were, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, refining my service offerings. So previously I used to offer all sorts of services like writing white papers and, you know, kind of high-end technical stuff, which just gives me a headache to think about now. So, narrowing down my service offerings and, just thinking about the overarching brand and the concept. From there, I engaged a designer and branding expert. So they helped me with my logo and just visual branding. So the UI for my website, the user identity and all that sort of stuff. And that was really helpful before I came to you as well, because you had a good idea of like my colours and just the kind of vibe.
And I do say to people, the more information you have for your images to create the perfect look and feel, the better. I mean, obviously some people don't have all that done yet, but if you do, it's such an advantage.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even just knowing the orientation of the images that I'd need for different sections of my website, that was really helpful as well. Yeah. Copywriting, obviously, I did my own, so that kind of was filtered throughout the process. I won't tell you how long that took because that's just scary. But
you did mention it was one of the toughest parts of the rebrand, which I can understand.
100%. If I wasn't a copywriter, I probably would recommend engaging a copywriter maybe after you get your logo done.
Yes.
So that's kind of next step in the process. So logo, copy. I had my photos done with you, obviously, which was awesome. Then...
we're gonna come back to that in a bit. Keep going.
Yeah, cool. Then web development.
Yes.
What else? And then in the background, obviously, I was kind of pre-launching and getting my clients prepared for the sort of switch over. What else was there?
Did you mention SEO? You mentioned that, didn't you? I'm trying to think of all the people you mentioned as well. Yeah, that's pretty much covered it all. It's what you sort of, was copywriting the most challenging part, or what was the most challenging part overall?
For me, definitely copywriting was the most challenging part, and I think that would be the same. You know, it's if you're a designer and you're designing your own stuff, or whatever you do, if you're a plumber and you're fixing your own taps, it's always a little bit more challenging to write your own stuff because you're so close to the project. And also, you know, after writing client work all day and then you have to kind of gear yourself up to write your own copy was challenging and just,
And there's pressure there that, you know, you want that to be great. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that was challenging.
Can you talk through the costs a little bit, which you again outline in your blog post, just so everyone has an idea of the investment that would be behind a rebrand?
Yeah, for sure. So my rebrand all up cost about $6,000 Australian dollars. Obviously doing my own copy, that allowed me to scale the cost back a little bit. So that included, you know, web design, branding, web development, which I used a custom WordPress website. So not a template website. And then I did my own copy. So for most people, I would allow a budget of between sort of $2,000 and $4,000 for copywriting, depending on how many web pages you've got. Mine was about $6,000 all up, but I'd say, you know, if you're a freelancer or a small business owner and you don't need anything super fancy, like you just want it to look really schmick and do the job, I'd say, you know, $10,000 would get you a really great result.
So it's definitely, it is still a good investment, isn't it? You would be wanting to save up for that, or have that money in the bank, or be thinking about that so that you don't go in and only get halfway through the process and then run out of budget for it. But
Absolutely.
it's good to have an idea of that cost. Absolutely. I do want to talk about your photos for a little bit, because it was so much fun, and obviously with your brand team copy, it was great because with the images, we obviously took some great shots of you, but we're able to infuse your brand through the biscuits and the teapots, and it made it quite fun. And I think it makes images memorable as well when you can include those kind of props. However, you are very similar to most of my clients in that you hate the idea of photographs. I still remember our initial call, and you just really hammered home to me how much you did not like getting in front of the camera. And it's the first time I've heard that. So just tell me a little bit, maybe just talk a little bit about how, going from that to having the shoot and afterwards, how that now feels, knowing you got the images. It hopefully wasn't as bad as you thought, without putting words into your mouth. But, to those people out there who are in that similar space of not wanting to put themselves in front of a camera.
Yeah. So I am the ultimate, I hate getting my photo taken person. So for anyone out there who's thinking about doing it, I can assure you that the thought of getting it done is way scarier than actually getting it done. I think from the first second that you walked out and I actually met you in person, I felt 100% comfortable, and it all flowed really smoothly. And the thing is, like, a photo is a still shot, so if one doesn't look good, there's hundreds more that you're going to be able to choose from. And when I saw the end results, I was like, wow, there was so many. And I think I purchased a package where I got a set amount, and I ended up emailing you saying, I love so many of them, can I buy extra? It's no way near as daunting as you think it's going to be. And I would just tell people to be as prepared as possible.
When you do it beforehand, you can turn up on the day, even if you're still nervous, at least confident that everything is as ready as it can be and you're going to get the right shots. And when you look at your website now, I mean, it's got such a beautiful look and feel to it, and there's nothing worse than going to a beautiful website, great copy, and really average photos, honestly, because they are the first thing that hits you, the visuals, when you go online to a website, and immediately you get a beautiful feel for what you look like and who you are, and people are going to connect with that straight away, which I love. And obviously, it's nice to hear it from the clients rather than the photographer, because I'm always going to say images are a fantastic investment. But, you've got those photos now that you can use for quite a long time. So it is an investment that does pay you back, doesn't it, into the future?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I can use them for so many things. I've got so much use out of them already, and I get so many compliments on them. And I'm actually looking forward to doing another shoot when the time comes. It was actually fun. Like, the first 5 minutes, you're like, oh my God, this is nerve-wracking. But then you just relax, and it's really cruisy. It was really fun.
Tea there. You were in your dressing gown by the end of it.
I know. Oh, that was the best moment, putting my dressing gown on.
And I mean, just overall, having a beautiful brand you love now, how has that changed you and the way you view your business, and maybe the way you're promoting your business? Because I think that's always something people don't think about in terms of the results of doing all that work.
Yeah, 100%. I think the biggest difference is I feel really proud of my brand now. And I think that's a really good indicator. If you like to talk about your brand and you meet someone and they're like, what do you do? And you just can't wait to tell them and show off your website, and you have that sense of pride about the brand that you've created. I really have that now. Whereas prior to my rebrand, I was like, you just don't have that, don't feel aligned with it. You just don't feel that it fully represents you and what you do. Whereas now I do, and not only does that give me a lot of confidence, it just makes life so much easier. Like, from everything from, showing up on social media to having this conversation with you, you feel like, what people see on your website and who you actually are is one and the same. There's not a disconnect there.
Yeah.
And so, it makes it a lot easier to market, and it makes you want to market it rather than just, kind of hiding back a little bit.
Yeah, and we both know that when you're in small business, it's all about marketing yourself, isn't it? As much as we may not like that feeling, it gets easier. But it is so much easier when you have a brand you love. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was about all I wanted to chat about today. Have I missed anything? I don't think so. That's pretty good.
I don't think so. Yeah, I think we've covered it.
I think we have. I did want to tell people where they can find you, because they should check out your gorgeous new website and your copy, and obviously, and your images as well. So they know what you look like now. So if you want to find Alicia, obviously tandcopy.com.au for your website. On LinkedIn, Alicia Kacar.
Yes, nailed it.
Which is ALICIA KACAR, and then on Instagram your T and Copywriting, and on Facebook your T and Copywriting. So that's where everyone can find you, and they should look you up and follow you. And thank you for sharing your rebrand story with us today. I hope that anyone out there thinking about a rebrand got some great tips from that. Oh, and I did want to mention that you have a checklist with your blog, don't you? So people should actually go to your blog and read your feature about your rebrand. You do a great feature where you dig into all this in detail on there, and you include a checklist about the things that people need to tick off their list, or that they should tick off if they're doing a rebrand.
Yep, for sure. Covers the good, the bad, and the ugly. So go and check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great thing for people to read. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon, huh? Cheers.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.